Good afternoon. On behalf of the COGEP and the International Center for Justice and Human Rights, co-organizer of this side event, I welcome you to this roundtable about human rights defenders and civil society in the United Arab Emirates. United Arab Emirates is a member of the Human Rights Council, and according to Resolution 60/251 of the General Assembly, a member of the Human Rights Council, when the General Assembly, when electing members of the Council, member state should take into account the contribution of candidates to the promotion and protection of human rights and their voluntary pledges and commitments made. And the General Assembly also decided that members elected to the Council shall uphold the highest standards in the promotion and protection of human rights. The United Arab Emirates has ratified a number of conventions, like the Convention Against Torture, the Convention for the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, the International Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination, and the Convention on the Right of the Child. But regrettably, as of today, it hasn't ratified the two major conventions. Now today we will focus on the civil society space in the United Arab Emirates, and we will have a look to what two committees has recently last year, at the end of last year, said about the report presented by the United Arab Emirates. And I will just briefly quote some abstracts of these concluding observations of the two committees. First, the Committee on the Right of the Child, who analyzed the situation in the report presented by the state on the 14th and 15th September last year. The committee recommended that the state party take all measures necessary to address its previous recommendations made in 2002 that have not been implemented or not sufficiently implemented. In particular, those related to reservations, legislations, data collection, independent monitoring, training on and dissemination of the Convention, non-discrimination, best interest of the child, and violence. Also, the committee, while noting that the employment of children under the age of 15 is prohibited by law, is concerned that this prohibition does not apply to certain sectors of the economy, such as agriculture. The committee recommended that the state party, in order to further strengthen the fulfillment of children's rights, ratify the core human rights instrument, to which it is not yet a party. And finally, about NGOs and civil society, the committee expresses concern about the very limited number of independent non-governmental organizations working specifically in the field of children's rights, and therefore the lack of information transmitted to the committee and the difficulty of assessing the situation of children on the basis of a variety of sources. The committee was also concerned about the reported continual harassment of human rights defenders in the state party, which greatly undermines the emergence of a vibrant civil society as well as the protection and promotion of children's rights. 2 months later, the Committee on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women reviewed the report and had the discussion with the delegation of the United Arab Emirates. And there, this committee regretted that the convention still takes no precedence over national laws, and also regretted that limited measures taken by the state party to incorporate the provisions of the convention into national legislation. The committee was also concerned that in spite of its previous recommendation, the principle of equality of women and men has still to be enshrined in the Constitution and its national legislations, and that discrimination against women has not yet been defined in accordance with Article 1 of the Convention. The committee was also concerned that access to justice by women and girls, including effective legal remedies, is severely hampered by the reluctance to register complaints and the negative attitudes of law enforcement officials towards women denouncing acts of violence committed against them. Finally, also the Committee on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women made a comment about civil society NGO space in the Arab Emirate. The committee remained concerned about the lack of a robust civil society in the state party, as reflected by the lack of alternative reports received by the committee from national non-governmental organizations on the implementation of the convention. The committee also regrets that lack of information on the legal requirements for the registration of and operation of NGOs in the state party. It is further concerned that women human rights defenders and their relatives have allegedly been subjected to various forms of harassment. I will now give the floor first to Mrs. Safa Aissa, who is chair of the International Center for Justice and Human Rights. Please, you have the floor.